Welcome to this explainer. Today we're tackling the final polish of your literature review. We've gone from querying massive databases to synthesizing some seriously complex data. But now it's time to communicate all that hard work to the world and do it with absolute academic integrity. Let's jump in. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll navigate the scholar's pillars, starting with integrity and paraphrasing, then locking down IEEE style and tools. After that, we'll build out your presentation architecture, figure out how to effectively communicate research gaps, and finally, wrap things up with metacognition and reflection.
So let's hit Pillar 1, integrity and paraphrasing.
Proper referencing really isn't just some formatting requirement or an arbitrary academic box to check off. We do it to build a web of credit for previous researchers and honestly, to give our own arguments a rock-solid foundation. Think about it. A naked claim is pretty weak, but a statement backed up by a peer-reviewed citation, that's bulletproof. When we drop the ball on referencing, we stumble into plagiarism. And look, this isn't always intentional theft. It totally includes accidental missteps, like changing just a couple of words while keeping the exact same sentence structure, or dropping in a data table without saying where you got it. It fundamentally undermines the scientific process we're trying so hard to contribute to.
There's a massive difference between a weak, direct copy and a genuinely good paraphrase. A strong paraphrase actually adds depth. It shows you've truly internalized the concept by explaining, for instance, exactly how performance is enhanced, maybe by mentioning complex relationships, all while keeping the core idea safely attributed to the original authors. It proves you understand the material, not just how to copy-paste.
Moving right along to mastering IEEE style and citation tools.
What's really brilliant about the IEEE style is how it uses numbered citations in brackets, which appear in the exact order of their first appearance. And that means you reuse that exact same number every single time you cite that source. It keeps your technical writing incredibly clean. You don't want to distract your reader with a massive list of author names right in the middle of a complex engineering sentence, right?
Then, at the very end of your document, your reference list has to perfectly match specific formats for journals, conferences, and books. Think of it as a strict accounting system. You absolutely cannot have a citation bracket in your text that doesn't appear on the list, and you definitely can't list a paper at the end that you didn't actually cite in the text. Consistency here is paramount. To avoid those consistency mistakes, and trust me, to save yourself from that dreaded 2 a.m. referencing panic right before a deadline, you really need to be using citation management tools like Zotero or Mendeley. You just follow a simple 4-step workflow. Find the paper, import it, organize it into folders, and use the software plugin to insert the citation natively while you type. The tool literally builds that flawless reference list for you automatically. It's a lifesaver.
Okay, shifting gears to Pillar 2, communication and presentation architecture.
Here's the thing. A presentation is never, ever just reading your report out loud. It's about confidently answering 3 core questions. What is currently known, what approaches are being used, and where must the research go next? This is the moment you transition from a student collecting data into an authority actually guiding an audience.
To communicate all this effectively, your presentation should follow a clear, linear architecture. You want to track the journey from the initial problem all the way to future opportunities. This logical flow ensures your audience actually grasps the why before you hit them with heavy, complex technical comparisons.
The most crucial mental shift when you're presenting is to tell the story of the field. You need to group your findings by trends and themes rather than just summarizing individual papers one by one. Your audience doesn't want a series of disconnected book reports. They want that light bulb moment of seeing how a specific model in one paper directly relates to a technique in another.
A comparison matrix is a highly effective way to pull this off. Visually contrasting the strengths and limitations of different engineering approaches works wonders. Instead of forcing your audience to slog through a dense paragraph about why you'd choose machine learning over deep learning, a clean table instantly communicates those trade-offs, like computational limits versus pattern recognition power.
Next up, communicating trends and gaps. When you're explaining research gaps, you have to avoid the lazy trap of just saying, "Nobody has studied this." It's rarely true, and it's a weak argument. Instead, construct a strong, evidence-based gap derived directly from the limitations of existing studies. A strong gap respects prior work by pointing out, for example, that a model achieved high lab accuracy but desperately needs real-world industrial validation. You are literally handing the next researcher a map of what to do next.
And finally, we arrive at Pillar 3, metacognition and reflection.
Metacognition is, simply put, thinking about your own thinking. Asking yourself reflective questions, like, what genuinely surprised you during this process? Or what was the absolute hardest method to wrap your head around? Cements the critical thinking skills you've just spent weeks developing. Maybe you realize researchers are tackling the exact same problem using wildly different approaches. That's a huge insight.
By using a structured reflection template, you consciously document your transition from just passively consuming information to actively synthesizing it. Maybe your biggest challenge was finding the common threads between a dozen dense papers. Documenting exactly how you overcame that hurdle, that builds an immense amount of confidence for your next major project.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought. How will you apply this rigorous, evidence-based mindset to the next incredibly complex problem you face in your career? Because mastering the literature review isn't just about passing an assignment or ticking a box. It's about fundamentally learning how to navigate the unknown. Thanks for joining me today, and keep exploring.